Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming at KVI.com and on the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up today, 2 chances to win fantabulous prizes, including movie tickets to Novocaine and a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card. But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you nuts?
For those of you that have been living under a rock all weekend, things really hit rock bottom in the relationships between the U.S. and Ukraine after Vladimir Zelenskyy, during a press conference in the Oval Office with Donald Trump, blew up the negotiations. Now, basically what happened is the media clipped this however they wanted to clip it. The left wing showed Trump getting mad. The right showed Trump standing up to Zelenskyy. And everybody got what they wanted in terms of clickbait. But let's go over what actually happened. If you watch the entire 50-minute clip, which we analyzed in detail on Friday, Donald Trump took it and took it and took it and took it until all of a sudden Zelenskyy basically implies that, well, unless I get security guarantees from the U.S., unless I get this, unless I get that, there's no deal. And basically blew up the negotiations. You knew something was off by the fact that Vance was there and Rubio was there and they were all part of it, because usually these things are performative. Usually it's, hey, nice suit. Hey, I love your country. Hey, you guys are brave, whatever. Then they go for lunch, private meetings. They sign a thing, they come out and do a press conference where they're standing at the podiums. Well, that didn't happen because Donald Trump chucked Zelenskyy out of the White House, deservedly so. Let's go over the basics again, one more time. If you ask me, Ari, how does the war in Gaza end? I tell you very, very simply, as does every single pro-Israel person. Return the hostages, Hamas surrenders. That's the goal. If I tell you your goal is to build a house, you say, well, here's how we're going to get to building that house. I have asked many people over the weekend who came to me and were saying, oh, Donald Trump's in the wrong. And every single one of them, I responded with, what's your end game in Ukraine? Not only could none of them give me a straight answer, none of them gave me the same answer. And that is the only question that matters right now. If you say a ceasefire, okay, then here's how we get there. If you say we want back the Donbass region, which Putin took when he first went into Ukraine when Joe Biden was president, okay, how do we get there? If you say we want back Donbass and Crimea, which got taken during the Obama administration, okay, how do we get there? If you say it's about getting rid of Putin, overthrowing his dictatorship, which is what it basically is, and then installing a democracy in Russia, okay, how do we get there? That's a very, very simple question, which nobody seems to be able to understand. And if you cannot answer that very, very simple question, we don't know what we're doing, and a lot of people are getting tired of writing a blank check. Now, let's contrast this with something else that happened today. A Taiwanese chip manufacturer made hundreds of billions of dollars of investments in the U.S. economy today. They're going to build chips here. It's going to be great. That's a huge investment in our economy. Let's take Taiwan for a minute. We have a relationship with Taiwan. They produce our computer chips, and we watch over them against China. And China knows if they invade Taiwan, they're going to have to deal with us because we need our computer chips. So that's the safety guarantees that Taiwan has. Ukraine was about to sign a document which would say, yeah, you Americans get to come in and drill for gas and drill for oil and drill for minerals and drill for what metals and all this other stuff. But then Americans would be in country, boots on the ground. They may be construction boots, but that means Putin's not going to go in because then he's cutting off our assets. Plus, It also helps repay the massive investment we made in the Ukraine war with no hopes of getting anything back. This was win-win. But Zelenskyy torpedoed the meeting. And it seems like Zelenskyy doesn't actually want peace. Earlier today, when they made the big announcement about the chips, here's what Donald Trump said when a reporter asked him the question about Zelenskyy.
President Zelenskyy supposedly made a statement today in AP. I'm not a big fan of AP, so maybe it was an incorrect statement, but he said he thinks the war's going to go on for a long time. And he better not be right about that. That's all I'm saying.
That's exactly the problem. Now, it's okay to say a war is going to go on for X amount of time if you tell me the end game. Is the end game getting rid of Putin? Because if it's getting rid of Putin, that means World War III. That's really what that means. That means we need everybody's help. It means we need a coalition. It means the entire world going to war with Russia. Is it getting back Crimea? Because then that's the entire world going to war with Russia. Is it getting back Donbass? Because that means the entire world going to war with Russia. Is it making sure he doesn't get Kyiv and that Ukraine gets to keep what it has now? Because then that's a ceasefire and that's an off-ramp. Now, the problem is, what happens down the road when Donald Trump's no longer president? Well, you would think, at least if there's U.S. contractors there, that whatever comes after that, the U.S. will look out for its own best interests. Why do you think this meeting exploded? And let me ask you another question. Do you even want a resolution with Zelenskyy? Do you even want this fixed at this point? I want to take your temperature. I want to know what you think. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. But there's a report from Michael Goodwin over at the New York Post, which says a common criticism of Vladimir Zelenskyy's disastrous Friday performance in the Oval Office is that he failed to read the room. Actually, the Ukrainian president did read a room, but it was the wrong room. Before meeting President Trump, Zelenskyy met with anti-Trump Democrats who advised him to reject the terms of the mineral deal that the president was offering, according to Senator Chris Murphy, who's a Democrat. Quote, just finished a meeting with President Zelenskyy here in Washington. He confirmed that the Ukrainian people will not support a fake peace agreement where Putin gets everything he wants and there are no security arrangements for Ukraine. They tweeted it, and they included a picture of Zelenskyy at a conference room table with Murphy. 40 minutes later, Zelenskyy arrived at the White House where Trump met his car, smiled, shook his hand, and walked him to the Oval Office. The meeting, as the world now knows, quickly went off the rails and ended with Trump angrily ejecting the arrogant ingrate from the White House, he writes. The earlier meeting with the Democrats undercuts wild claims that Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance staged an ambush. In fact, it was Zelenskyy who came with an ulterior motive. The purpose of the meeting was to sign the mineral agreement that he and Trump representatives had negotiated. Zelenskyy had twice refused to sign it after promising to, and thanks to Murphy, we now know he had no intention of signing it on Friday. So all the Democrats with the Ukrainian flags in their bio, are you going to call out Senator Murphy? Are you going to call out the Democrats for torpedoing this entire thing? Because you had the possibility of an off-ramp and an end to the violence. Well, now this thing is getting way, way worse. But at least one reporter asked Donald Trump, trying to salvage the situation, and this is a legit question, what do you need from Zelenskyy in order to get this back on track?
What do you need to see from President Zelenskyy to restart these negotiations?
Well, I just think he should be more appreciative because this country has stuck with them through thick and thin. We've given them much more than Europe, and Europe should have given more than us because, as you know, that's right there. That's the border. This country really was like the fence on the border. It was very important to Europe, and I'm not knocking Europe. I'm saying that they were a lot smarter than Joe Biden because Joe Biden didn't have a clue. He just gave money hand over fist, and they should have been able to equalize with us. In other words, if we gave $1, they should have given. Well, we gave $350 billion. They probably gave $100, but on top of it all, they get their money back because they're doing it in the form of a loan, and it's a secured loan. So when I saw that, which I've known about for a little while, I said it's time for us to be smart. At the same time, it's great for them because they get us in the country taking the rare earth, which is going to fuel this big engine, and especially the engine that we've in a very short time created, and we get something, and we're there. We have a presence there. With all of that being said, I want one thing to happen. I want all of those young people to stop being killed. They're being killed by the thousands every single week. Last week, 2,700 were killed. 2,700 young, in this case, just about all young boys from Ukraine and from Russia. And that's not young people from the United States, but it's on a human basis. I want to see it stop. The money is one thing, but the death. And they're losing thousands of soldiers a week. And that's not including the people that get killed every time a town goes down or a missile goes into a town. And I want to see it stop.
Clear, concise, that's Trump's endgame. By the way, Trump still is Trump, and he still has a little bit of commentary in his remarks. But his remarks are much more qualified than the first time he was president. It used to be the joke about Trump was you get him on a topic, and then he focuses on one word and then goes off on a tangent about that word. For example, me and Zelenskyy had the best meeting. We had Diet Coke. Diet Coke. I love Diet Coke. It's the best drink ever. I have a button on my desk, which brings me a Diet Coke. Melania loves the Diet Coke. Barron loves the Diet Coke. And CNN hates Diet Coke. They're fake news. CNN, you're fake news because you hate Diet Coke. That's the way it used to be. He is very clear. He is very concise. And he is saying what his endgame is. But Zelenskyy, if he doesn't get back Donbass, if he doesn't get back Crimea, if he doesn't take down Putin, he's going to lose the next election. And what do you know? It's martial law in Ukraine right now, and they're not even having elections. Zelenskyy may have wanted to torpedo the meeting, whether it was because of the Democrats or whether it was because he said, I want to keep fighting. Now, something that did happen over the weekend, and this happened right after the meeting, is every head of state in Europe says, we've got your back. We're going to help you out. Hey, hypocrites, you going to pay the bills? You going to step up and start paying the bills because you're barely paying them now? Or how about this one? Are you going to stop buying gas from Russia? Because right now you are financing the gas station with a nuclear arsenal. Let's be real about this for a minute here. Now, if you say that Europe's going to step up and the U.S. can take a back seat, great. Fantastic. Wonderful. But the question is, what do you want to do at this point? Because I'll tell you, plenty of Americans are fed up with Zelenskyy. Right now, we don't know what the end game is. And here's something else. He may drag us into World War III because it seems to be what he wants is the entire world to go to war with Russia. And Russia's terrible. And Russia's horrible. And Putin's terrible. And Putin's horrible. But are you ready to send your kids to go die in this war? Because that's what Zelenskyy wants right now. Or do you want an off-ramp? It's really amazing to me that Democrats keep calling for a ceasefire in the Middle East, but say war, 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 war in Ukraine. Really doesn't make much sense to me. The goal here is how do you get to an endpoint? And since there is no endpoint, can we at least stop the fighting? It's not a perfect solution. It's a stopgap solution. But does it solve the problem short term? Absolutely. I want to know what you think. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Dave in Puyallup. Dave, what's up, man?
Hey, as far as the rare earth minerals, I saw a pretty in-depth analysis in that Ukraine doesn't have the real high-end rare earth minerals. They have lithium and iron ore. But Greenland is much more rich with those hard-to-find rare earth minerals. And I think we should concentrate our efforts, our money, our fortunes on trying to work to get Greenland if that rare earth, part of it is a big deal. And also, I'm a fourth-generation military service with my son and daughter-in-law currently captains in the Army, and I don't want to see him sacrificed for this thing with Zelenskyy. I think he's sticking his neck out way too far on this. He should have taken the deal, and he's a bit pompous.
Well, let's start here. First of all, thank you for your service. Thank you for your kids' service. I know that's that's the least I can say, but thank you so much for that. God bless you and God bless them. Regarding Ukraine, the problem is Russia took all the good stuff in Crimea and the Donbass region, and there's not much left. Is it better to get something than nothing? Absolutely. Does it come with risks? 100%. Now, with regards to Greenland, I don't think we're going to go conquer Greenland. We don't really do that anymore. But at the same time, are there deals we can make with Greenland? Absolutely. Do we know if they're going on behind the scenes? Greenland hasn't seemed so interested in talking about it, but at the same time, doing business with the U.S. makes you a lot of money, and you're 100% right. That's an easier deal to make than the one we're dealing with Ukraine right now. But the problem is, if Putin continues his conquest of Europe, it is going to drag us into World War III because of our membership in NATO. And then we got a bigger problem. I'll give you the last word, Dave, then I got to run.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I think the Europeans really need to step up. We've been, financing their military for way too long. I think this is a good wake-up call, the way Trump's playing it. Hopefully, you would think that they would step up to, secure their own security.
Yeah. I completely agree with you, Dave. Completely agree with you. Once again, God bless you. God bless your family. God bless your kids. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Paul in Kitsap. Paul, what's going on?
Good afternoon. Two things. Number one, Putin's not going to go into NATO because he can't even defeat Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, Putin took over the Donbass in 2014.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. No, I'm agreeing with you. So
they're not gonna. I know, but everybody's talking about what's going to happen. Probably what is going to happen is the Donbass is going to stay with Russia. They're going to leave the other areas that they have, and they're going to keep Crimea.
Yeah. See,
and the reason they're going to do that is they need the Black Sea.
Yes, and that's actually something.
Nobody seems to be talking about what Russia needs.
And here's something else. Nobody seems to be addressing the fact that when Russia went into those places, was there a little bit of outrage? Yeah, it was, oh, don't do it again. But I seem to remember a guy named Barack Obama saying, I'll have more flexibility after the election. I seem to remember.
There was none, though.
Right.
None. And, Ukraine, Biden stopped Ukraine from ever having a chance to win the war by not allowing him to infiltrate Russia and hit Russian military bases.
And he slow-walked the aid to them. If you want to win, you get it to them quickly.
Absolutely.
So you put all those things together. Did they ever actually want to win?
I could see Zelensky's point of view of being upset. But he's upset with the wrong person.
Exactly.
And the Europeans, they even know that they can't do a peace deal with Putin.
Yep.
Because they even came out and said, hey, we're going to propose one, then we're going to ask Trump if it's okay.
Not just that, we're going to ask Trump for security guarantees.
Yeah, well, and Trump's going to tell him to go pound sand.
Exactly.
And Zelenskyy will be back. I guarantee you it was the anti-Trumpers that told Zelenskyy, go in that room, you can make him give you a security agreement because we know that that's what he wants those minerals so bad.
Mm-hmm.
And they lied to him. And he bought it hook, line, and sinker.
Yep. When you even lose Lindsey Graham, you know you got problems. Paul, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Ray says over on the Warrior Injury Law text line, Ari, screw Ukraine. What have they ever done for the USA? Except maybe for being part of starting the Russia collusion hoax. Yeah, don't forget about that one, my friends. Also, Williams says, we have North Korean and Chinese mercenaries in the war now. Yeah, let's remember who else we're going to war with if we saddle up to go to war with Russia. Yeah, if you want to weigh in on what you think about this whole Zelenskyy and Russia business, you give us a call, 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Lots more to discuss as the show continues while we're pouring all this money into Ukraine. How much money is actually being spent here? And what's it being spent on? We're building movie studios here in King County. We'll give you the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. It's never too early for good news around here, so we start with this one out of Seattle. This comes from the Seattle Police blotter. An eagle-eyed Seattle parking enforcement officer helped recover a stolen replica Liberty Bell believed to be worth more than $100,000. On Monday, March 3rd at about 8 a.m., parking enforcement officer Michael Eaton was on duty in the 1300 block of Northwest 83rd Street when he noticed a detached flatbed trailer with an enormous item covered with a rain tarp. As he looked more closely, he saw a large bell and recalled a recent news report about a replica Liberty Bell stolen from the Evergreen Washelli Cemetery. Seattle police learned of the parking enforcement officer's discovery and worked with the cemetery staff to verify and recover the rare bell. A staff member explained it is heavy, made of copper, and there are only 20 of these bells in the world. The replica Liberty Bell was first reported stolen from the cemetery on March 1st. Cemetery staff told Seattle police officers they found doors of a facility open with a door lock cut and the bell, estimated to be worth more than $100,000, missing. Investigators are now working to identify the suspects involved. This is something that's happening all over the place. They're stealing from cemeteries now. Oh, wait, that's not new. That's been going on for years. That's why I got into politics, because of the lunatics who were breaking into Jewish cemeteries and prostitutes doing what they do in there and homeless living there and drug users overdosing in there. This is no surprise, unfortunately. This is how bad Seattle has gotten that now people are stealing from the dead. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Jeremy in Tacoma. Jeremy, what's up?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about how, all these people are supporting Ukraine, and then I see all these videos recently of them, pulling people off the street, forcing them into military service, and then I just saw a video of a soldier who has Down syndrome.
I saw those same videos. I haven't authenticated them. I have no reason to doubt them except for don't believe everything you see on the internet. But let's not forget that J.D. Vance and Donald Trump both referenced this issue in the Oval Office the other day, and I assume their intelligence sources are better than mine. Let's not forget that Russia and Ukraine are both doing forced conscriptions of people into this war. And Russia did not count on Ukraine lasting this long. They expected the U.S. to roll over and not support them the same way they did with the Donbass and the same way they did with Crimea. They didn't expect the war to go on this long, but now they're being reinforced by Chinese mercenaries, by North Korean mercenaries, and now Ukraine has a limited supply of people, especially people who think they can't win a war anymore.
Yeah.
Well, Jeremy, appreciate the call. Appreciate the insight, buddy. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you want to weigh in on this Ukraine insanity, give us a call, 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Returning to some things that are closer to home, King County is grappling with a $150 million budget deficit because of overspending. Now, what keeps happening is you have King County Sheriff Patty Cole Tyndall, who's just a political appointee of Dow Constantine, who's saying, we need more money, we need more revenue, or we're going to have to cut public safety. How much other stupid things are you spending money on? I remember it wasn't too long ago that you guys were spending money along with Seattle buying a movie theater. Yes, remember? They bought the Cinerama together, spent a couple $1 million doing that. And then they say, oh, we're going to have to cut public safety. Maybe it's the amount of overspending you guys are doing. Maybe, just maybe, you should look at Homeless Inc. and the amount of money you're spending, because the Liberty Bell just got stolen from a cemetery. But they're saying this fear-mongering, we're going to have to cut public safety. Why is public safety the first thing that gets cut? When will there be an audit of Homeless Inc.? It's a very reasonable question. Also, here's something else. If businesses continue moving out of Seattle and continue moving out of King County because of crime everywhere, you get less revenue from taxes. Do you not understand how this works? Also, you're going to come to a point where people are not going to be able to afford their property taxes. What's going on in Olympia is they want to be able to lift the lid on your property taxes of how much they increase them without a vote. They want to be able to do that anytime they feel like it, and they're making King County the poster child. Have you ever heard Democrats concerned about public safety before? No. They're the ones who, at the same time, they have King County screaming about public safety. The Democrats have bills in Olympia that want to reduce sentences for offenders, remove sentencing enhancements for offenders, and then they're going to lecture us on public safety, even a Liberty Bell in a cemetery, which is an inanimate object, isn't safe these days. But they're going to keep saying it's about public safety. It's about public safety. It's not. It's because they have a massive spending problem. What else are they spending your tax dollars on if they're buying movie theaters? Now, look, everybody likes the Cinerama. Everybody likes the tech. Everybody likes their chocolate-covered popcorn. There were other ways to save a movie theater. For example, they want to save the film industry here in Seattle. So you know what they did? They removed some of the taxes, incentivized with tax incentives for you to come do movies here. And what happened? Boom! Some people all of a sudden came here and started doing more movies, which means now their employees are buying things, which means now they're spending things, which means now they're investing money in Seattle. And what do you know? Money's coming in for the city. You could have done similar partnerships, but you didn't. Instead, you're happy to just spend the money, hoping it's going to buy you brownie points to make somebody happy to win an election. And now you're claiming we have a spending problem? When you're spending $2 million on a movie theater, spare me your nonsense. Lots more to discuss as the show continues. Is Tim Walz gearing up to run for president? Yes, this is a real thing. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. So people have had an entire weekend to digest that meeting in the Oval Office, Donald Trump throwing out Zelenskyy. What do the polls say about it? Here's CNN. I can't believe this was on CNN.
Well, I think the easiest way we can kind of just ask this is, do Americans like the way that Trump's handling his job and compare it to how they felt about Joe Biden? So this is the net approval rating. You look at Joe Biden back in 2024, he was 22 points underwater. Holy cow. You look at Donald Trump, it's just a different planet entirely. I mean, the gulf between these two is wider than the Gulf of America or Mexico, depending on which side of the aisle you stand on. He's at +2. So, look, at this particular point, Americans are giving Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt. He's doing considerably better than Joe Biden was doing on the handling of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. And so on this simple question, I think Americans are saying, okay, Donald Trump's doing all right on this.
What about specifically on how they feel about bringing the war to an end?
Yeah, okay. So, look, questions on this can be quite complicated, but I think this kind of gets at sort of where the American trend line is. Americans on the Russia-Ukraine war want a quicker end of the war, but Russia keeps its captured land. Look at this, 50%. Bare majority coming in here. Support Ukraine's right to fight, even if it means a longer war. That's at 48. This is very, very close. But the trend line on this question is so important because that want a quick end of the war, look at this. You go back to August of 2022, it was at 31%. Now we're at 50%. I mean, that is a rocket ship upwards in terms of the Americans who want a quick end to the war, even if it means Russia keeps the captured Ukraine land. Americans are moving closer and closer to wanting a compromise, even if it means that Ukraine doesn't really get what it set out to want, at least at the beginning of this war.
This is what the Democrats do not understand, is that Donald Trump is the populist president. And when they keep fighting against him and pushing and doubling down for their radical ideology, it's not resonating with the American people. Want proof? A new poll from Rasmussen revealed that the majority of voters under the age of 40 approve of President Donald Trump's job performance, over 10 points higher than those in the 40 to 64 age group and those 65 and older. It used to be the younger demographic belonged almost exclusively to the Democrats. The poll found that a total of 60% of voters between the ages of 18 and 39 approve of Trump's job performance, including 35% who strongly approve, 25% who somewhat approve. In the 40 to 64 age group, 34% strongly approve, 12% somewhat approve, for an approval rating of 46%. Of those ages 65 and older, 40% strongly approved, 5% somewhat approved, for a total approval rating of 45%. These are some of the highest numbers he's ever had, and so far they seem to keep going up. Now, here's something. Democrats who aren't fully partisan or who aren't fully crazy are admitting he's doing a good job, and even if you don't like all of his policies, the Democrats have no response whatsoever to the momentum and charisma that he has. Bill Maher on Friday night hates Donald Trump. He despises Donald Trump. He's pretty close to becoming more red-pilled, as you might say, because he's a classic liberal, which is more similar to being red-pilled these days. But he hates Donald Trump. And even he can't refute what's going on right now, and he's yelling at the Democrats to get their act together. He used Patty Murray as an example on Friday night of how they are old, antiquated, out of date, and don't get what's happening here. Keep that in mind when he talks about a Democrat senator from Washington. He's flashing a picture of Patty Murray.
Look, here's the thing. Voters aren't really savvy about the issues, but they do have made it clear what is important to them. Authenticity, balls, and charisma. Trump has that package, and so does Fetterman. He's only been a senator 2 years, and he's already more famous than most of his colleagues. Quick, I dare you to name this sad-looking lady from Washington State who's been in the Senate for 30 years. You can't teach charisma or balls.
He's 100% right. He's 100% right. So what's the Democrat response for this? Who are we going to run for president? Well, Gavin Newsom's went up in smoke, and he's too busy podcasting right now. Pete Buttigieg blew up trains and air traffic control, so he's not the guy. So who are we going to run? Well, now Tim Walz says that he might make a bid for president in 2028. On Sunday, according to the Post-Millennial, he hinted at the possibility during the New Yorker radio hour when he was pressed on the issue. He said, if I think I could offer something, I would certainly consider that. I'm also, though, not arrogant enough to believe there's a lot of people that can do this. Oh, but Tim Walz can get it done. Possibly the worst pick ever in the history of vice presidents. You were just waiting for an excuse to play that again, weren't you? Yes. Okay. Yes, thank you, Baby Yoda. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Barbara in Ballard. Barbara, what's going on?
Well, I'm confused, and I was hoping that you could answer this. So in the exchange with almost to the end of the argument with Trump and Zelenskyy, Trump kept saying, we gave you javelins and you got sheets.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
Well, basically, that's going back to it's. You had Barack Obama sending them humanitarian aid supplies, and not actually helping them win any wars is what that's about. So that's what he's talking about. I think I got that clip here somewhere. Hang on. Here it is right here. Hang on a second.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful.
That's what it was. That's what you're talking about there?
Okay. Yeah, and then the other thing is, did you hear about a Hamas parade yesterday in Ballard coming down 20th? Not 24th, not 15th, 22nd.
I did not. None of my usual sources told me about that. I must have to work on my sources in Ballard. What were they doing out there? The Hamasniks have been pretty quiet around here. Mm-hmm.
And yelling and walking down and having stupid music. And then they had two bicyclists on my street trying to block us from leaving. It's like, get out of my way.
Oh, that sounds about right. Did anybody call it into the police?
I don't know, because I had to get to Magnolia, so I couldn't.
Too busy fighting traffic.
Fight.
No, I get it. Fighting Antifa, fighting traffic. Let me make some calls and see what I can find out about it. Okay, Barbara?
Okay, thanks.
All right. Appreciate the tip. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757 or tips at 206-421-5757. We never say no to those. Lots more to discuss as the show continues. I did not watch the Oscars. The question is, did you? We'll discuss the insanity from last night when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I didn't watch the Oscars this weekend, and that actually really bothers me because I used to really enjoy watching the Oscars. I used to like to root for my favorite movies, hoping to see them win awards. But instead, they nominated a whole bunch of movies nobody watches anymore. Look, I wouldn't say we're paid to go see movies because we're not, but one of the perks of the Ari Hoffman Show, and you know this, that coming up at 4:45 today, like every single Monday, we have The Real Deal, where we talk about the latest movies and TV shows. We review them. We give out movie tickets. We make movie references all the time. Half of Mike's soundboard, when it's not Hank Williams Jr., is movie and TV references. He's got it sitting right there. So we like pop culture around here. But the fact that I didn't want to watch the Oscars this year, but here's something else that's interesting. I don't know if it's an algorithm thing, but usually you can't avoid watching them because when you spend as much time on social media as I do, they pop up and you see the clips everywhere. My wife was giving me the reports of what was going on in the Oscars. Hey, they're doing this musical number about James Bond. Hey, they're doing this musical number about Wicked. Hey, Conan O'Brien's kind of funny. But I wasn't seeing this stuff trending on social media. Was it because Hulu was having problems and not as many people were watching? Was it just that not as many people were watching because most people had never heard of half these movies, if not all these movies? I went down the list of the nominees. I take that back. I saw one movie that had been nominated. I found one, Mike. In the best costumes category, Gladiator 2. That was the one movie I had seen that was nominated for an award. That's it. But what are we talking about here? Hollywood does not realize they have lost the interest of so many people. Do you even get it back? It's through a combination of factors. It's by making woke garbage. It's by destroying franchises we liked. It's also by just oversaturation of the market, where there's so much stuff, even if you wanted to see all this stuff, you couldn't possibly do it. Did you watch the Oscars last night? Let us know. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. And on top of that, I remember what Ricky Gervais said the last time he hosted the Golden Globes when he ripped Hollywood. Just get up here, get your statue, and don't give a political speech. You're in no position to lecture anybody about anything. Most of you have less of an education than Greta Thunberg. And you know what? On top of that, they're a bunch of hypocrites. So wait a second. You would assume that Hollywood types, who are the ones who have their cell phones hacked all the time and the sex tapes and the images, wouldn't want revenge porn or things like that leaked on the internet. Well, Melania Trump is up on Capitol Hill today advocating for laws against doing that, trying to stop this, especially with regards to teenagers, and I can barely find any news sources even talking about it. She was calling it out in real time today.
Of exploitation or harm. To the brave survivors of NCII, your strength inspires the courage in others. To the advocates, your voices power our youth and hopefully bring change. And to the families, your unwavering love is a pillar of resilience. Thank you again to Senator Cruz, Speaker Johnson, House Majority Leader Scalise, Representative Salazar, Chairman Guthrie, Chairwoman McCain, Chairman Maher, and Representative Kahan for being here today and for your dedication to this important cause. I was heartened to learn that Senator Cruz and Senator Klobuchar united to prioritize this fundamental matter. I must admit, however, I expected to see more Democrats, leaders with us here today, to address this serious issue.
Where were they? They claim to care about this stuff so much. Where were they? They didn't even bother showing up, and they claim to care about this issue so much. But, it's Melania Trump, and we know whose last name she shares, so we're not discussing this issue because the Trumps had something to do with it. We got a quick minute. We go quickly to Scott and Stanwood on the KVI studio line. Scott, what's going on?
Hey, Ari, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. What's up, man?
Great. Calling about the Oscars last night. I'm 70 years old. I remember when the Oscars were hosted by Bob Hope, Johnny Carson, guys like that. I will say that Conan O'Brien was reasonably good. At least he didn't delve into any the usual claptrap that a lot of guys do. My wife and I tried to make a point of watching a few of the movies that were nominated for Best Picture.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm kind of surprised you didn't see Dune 2.
Yeah, I heard about those. I don't mean to cut you off, but Scott, I hear you. The hosts aren't what they used to be. I remember watching Billy Crystal and enjoying it a lot when he used to do it. It's just not the same anymore. Scott, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss, including the effort to kill initiatives is dead, but Democrats are turning up the heat on raising your taxes. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and on the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up at 4:45, your chance to win 2 tickets to an advanced screening of Novocaine and a prize pack. But before we get to any of that, my friends, did you know there was an earthquake around here this morning? I had no idea. Didn't feel it at all. According to Washington State Ferries, good morning, our crew aboard Samish felt shaking while docked at Anacortes. They immediately departed for deep water as a tsunami precaution. That vessel is running behind schedule because of this. All San Juan Islands terminals report no damage. Did you feel the earthquake near you? I didn't feel this sucker at all. I know it was pretty moving pretty hard down in California, but did you guys feel this at all? Give us a call or a text. Let us know. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Well, there's some good news and a lot of bad news out of Olympia after another deadline goes by for bills that survived and some that died. Now, the good news first. The initiative killer, as we called it, a Democratic-backed bill that would have killed the initiative process because it would have done 2 things. Well, first, what it would have done was it would have said you had to have a signature at the bottom by the person who collected signatures. Now, originally, the way that Let's Go Washington, one of the ways they get signatures, is they mail them to people. So, for example, if I say, hey, I'm not near any of your signing stations, but can you mail me one of these initiative forms? They will mail one to you and send it back, and that would create confusion, where people would be looking at the bottom, wait, do I sign this, or does Let's Go Washington sign that? That's number one. But number two, if you're out there and you're a volunteer and you're just collecting signatures because you're trying to make schools better or trying to make more public safety and trying to reinstitute police pursuits or stopping an income tax, now at the bottom, you are on the hook if somebody lies about their information on that form. It got so bad that even Steve Hobbs, Secretary of State, Democrat, testified against this thing. So that thing is now dead, at least for this year. When you're facing a $12 billion or $15 billion or $17 billion budget deficit, the fact that they had free school meals on here, that's something where we just don't have the money for it. Plus something else. The Democrats love to say, well, kids get their food this way. This is how they get fed. Well, there's something else about this, though, my friends. Families that are on welfare get money to buy this kind of stuff so they can send their kids to school with lunches. So I have a question. Aren't we, in essence, double paying for those? I'm not trying to be an ogre, but I'm asking about this. Here's what the Seattle Times wrote about it. This isn't a year for a bill that would have offered free breakfast and lunch to all public. You know what? I think we need white napkins. I think we need sterling silver cutlery. I think we just need to offer everything for everybody, but that's what they want to offer up. Look, lunch, I get maybe, but breakfast and lunch and dinner and everything else, yeah, that's not going to happen. Other things that got killed this time around, unemployment benefits for illegal immigrants. Yes, that was one of the more insane bills this time around, but when you have a $17 billion budget deficit, some things are going to get the cut, and that's an example of one of them. Look, other states were talking about this, and even Gavin Newsom vetoed something this insane. By the way, speaking of illegal immigrants, this popped up over the weekend. Washington State Patrol posted yesterday, today we remember Trooper Christopher Gadd. Trooper Gadd was killed on March 2nd, 2024 at the age of 27. Trooper Gadd was struck by a motorist on southbound Interstate 5 near 136th Street North in Marysville. Hashtag gone but not forgotten. If you didn't know the story, you would just assume, oh, accident, terrible, horrible. That's awful. What a tragedy. Let's remember what actually happened. Let's remember that as soon as we heard about this and they weren't releasing details of the suspect, I got curious. And I hunted down those jail records with the help of some listeners, and we found out that it was an illegal immigrant who should have been deported for domestic violence, but because the day before he was sentenced, Jay Inslee signed legislation making Washington a sanctuary state, this guy was still in the state, in the country. In addition to that, this guy had a track record of criminal history, plus of reckless driving, plus of DUI. And this guy was allegedly high as a kite and drunk when at 100 miles an hour, he plowed into Trooper Christopher Gadd, who was sitting on the side of the freeway in a speed trap. This guy going at over 100 miles an hour decided traffic at 3 in the morning was just too slow for him. So he decided to go on the shoulder and plow into a state trooper. But all those details are left out of this. Gee, I wonder why. Who runs the Washington State Patrol? Oh, right. Bob Ferguson and crew. And you can't say what actually happened. He left behind a 2-year-old daughter. You remember this? Left behind a young wife. Oh, and remember our local media didn't want to show you the face of the illegal immigrant who killed. Let's protect the illegal immigrant. Let's protect his rights, right? Then you remember a judge also reduced the bail for the illegal immigrant who allegedly killed a Washington State trooper. Yeah, please tell me again why we should be giving illegal immigrants who break our laws unemployment insurance. That means you could show up in this country, get flown wherever you want under the Biden administration, the way it used to be given a phone, be given everything else. And then on top of that, after you're given an apartment and housing and God knows what else, you're also giving unemployment insurance. So why would you ever have to go to work? What's the motivation to ever go to work? But these are the kind of people that Bob Ferguson and Nick Brown and the Democrats want in state, like this guy here. A 25-year-old Guatemalan man was arrested by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Homeland Security investigation agents in Mason County, Washington last week for failing to register or update his sex offender registration and re-entering the U.S. following deportation. Acting U.S. Attorney Teal Luthi Miller said Juan Hernandez Zacharias has been charged by criminal complaint with 2 felonies. The first, failure to register or update his sex offender registration. Well, okay, let me ask you this. Shouldn't it be that if you're registering as a sex offender, as an illegal immigrant, you shouldn't be registering? It should be, well, if you register, we're going to pick you up and deport you. Apparently, he was sentenced in October of 2022 with first-degree child molestation. The sentencing documents advise Zacharias that he should leave the state. Oh, you can't set foot west of the Mississippi in this town. Give me a break. Yeah, I can't imagine why he didn't listen. He must register as a sex offender within 3 days of returning. Well, you can't set foot west of the Mississippi, but if you do come back, make sure you register as a sex offender. Unbelievable. He apparently did not register as required. The second charge, reentry of a removed alien, relates to Zacharias' return following deportation. On January 2nd, 2024, Zacharias had a removal hearing in immigration court. He was ordered removed, and on February 4th, 2024, he was removed from the U.S. and transported to Guatemala. However, on May 16th, 2024, that's barely 2 months later, Zacharias registered a white van with Washington State plates. The sex offender is registering a white van. You don't say. So, hang on a second. An illegal immigrant sex offender can register a vehicle in Washington. Wait a minute. Isn't it when you get your driver's license, you're automatically registered to vote? I got lots of questions about all this. On December 6, 2024, Zacharias was arrested by Mason County Sheriff's deputies for failing to register as a sex offender. The arrest was logged in the National Crime Information Center. The NCIC system alerted ICE, Homeland Security investigators, that Zacharias had an order for removal in place. The federal criminal complaint had sworn and filed with Magistrate Judge David W. Crystal on February 21st, 2025. Failure to register or update sex offender registration is punishable by up to 10 years in prison. Reentry of a removed alien is punishable by up to 2 years in prison. So my question is, how many people like that are here in Washington? How many people like that are registered to vote here in Washington? But these sex offenders with white panel vans appear to be the ones that Bob Ferguson, Nick Brown, and the rest of the Democrats want to keep in the state, which is absolutely insane. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Ron in Tacoma. Ron, what's up?
Well, I'm a little disturbed until I come on to your show to get some hard news. I didn't realize that the Democrats blew the Ukraine deal.
Yes.
That Mr. Murphy is a real piece of work. So here's my question. Once again, we have the Democrats, after losing everything in the last election, are somehow still interfering not only in our election, but for what we elected.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm going to ask you, it seems like the Republican Party should be out right now filing restraining order after restraining order against the Democrat Party. But, of course, I don't hear anything other than crickets. So me as a citizen, not voting for any of these people, where do I get my restraining order to stop these people from pretending they're elected officials?
Well, let's do this for a second. There are some bright spots. So I don't know if you heard about this, but the Trump administration filed civil rights sanctions against the Tumwater School District today. Title VI violations, I think it was. They filed them against the Tumwater School District today for violating Trump's executive order of allowing boys to play in girls' sports. So I think some stuff is happening there. However, I do believe that from time to time, the people in the Trump administration are a little distracted. So Pam Bondi, I like her very much, but can her and Kash Patel stop fighting about the Epstein files? And can we actually have more things going on, like going after the Tumwater School District? Now, I do love that they named 10 universities that they're going after. Unfortunately, University of Washington was not one of them, so maybe they can chew gum and walk at the same time, which would be great. But yes, I agree. There's a lot more things we should be cracking down on, and the Republican Party should be going after every single Democrat who's breaking these rules.
Yeah, we just need to find out. It seems to me that the public, once again, is the victim. And there's something needs to be done. There needs to be more done about lawsuits against the Democrats that the Republicans absolutely refuse to get off their butts and do.
Well, I think I would actually say, I'll correct you on this, Ron, okay? Don't forget, Pam Bondi got the job like a week ago or something. Now, I think local Republicans need to do more of what you're talking about, 100%, but I just heard that Ann Davidson is suing the Trump administration. So, unfortunately, that's something we're a little disappointed about around here. Yes, locally, we need to be doing a whole lot more of that. Federally, it looks like they're ramping up to do even more, and they've been pretty successful so far in doing that, so I'm cautiously optimistic. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Phil in Anacortes. Phil, did you feel the ground rocking down there?
Yes, I did. The lampshade started shaking this morning, about 5:03. And it was a pretty good shake, and it lasted maybe 10 seconds.
Okay. So if the house was a rockin', it's an earthquake in Anacortes is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, you're all right, though. Is your stuff okay?
Oh, yeah.
Good deal. Well, I appreciate the update, Phil.
I live on the third floor, so I was a little concerned, but yeah, it subsided.
Excellent. Very good. Well, thanks for checking in, Phil. Glad you're safe. You want to be part of the show or let us know where you were during the great earthquake of Anacortes of 2025. You give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We will rebuild. Exactly. Moving on to other insane legislation around here. This one I saw. They wanted to pay parental caregivers around here. So according to the Seattle Times, under Washington law, anyone except a legal parent or guardian can get paid to provide care, like bathing, dressing, or managing medical needs to a child under 18 who has intellectual or developmental disability. Parents are eligible for this pay only after their child becomes an adult. Families often struggle to find caregivers due to the lack of people doing this work. House Bill 1200 and Senate Bill 5211 would have required the state's Developmental Disabilities Administration to ask the federal government for permission to use Washington's Medicaid funding to pay parents of minors with developmental disabilities. The Senate version of the legislation was teed up for a possible committee vote on Friday evening, but Senate Ways and Means declined to move it forward. Now, me personally, I actually think this was something worth consideration, worth discussion, worth debate. I think this is something worth talking about. So when they're not funding this, what else are they funding? Let me know what you think about these bills. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. In other legislation, on Friday, House Democrats voted against a Republican amendment to House Bill 1834. before that would have required public libraries block pornographic content on computers for minors. I actually got a text about this from a listener. This is just what they said. They said they went to the library the other day and all the computers were taken over by homeless people watching pornography. Now, I don't know if that's true or untrue, but given that some of our libraries have turned into massive internet cafes for the homeless, government-funded internet cafes for the homeless, I think we need a revamp of our library system. For what we are spending on the libraries, we could give every single kid in the area a Kindle and unlimited downloads. Seriously, I think it's time we take a serious look at this. Now, libraries have to be funded. A lot of times they're in city charters, like in Seattle. A lot of times they're in state charters. That's something you have to fund, but I think we should have some serious discussions about our entire library system. Anybody who's a longtime listener of the show knows why I don't like the libraries, because where do you get all your reading done? Yes, I don't want to borrow your book. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Kayla in Kent. Kayla, what's up?
Hey, Ari. I am a parent of a disabled child who has gone through the DDA process, has parental caregiver hours available, but cannot find a caregiver for my child.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are in this group, in this community of parents of disabled children, it's challenging because you think Washington is this amazing state where we're very liberal. We love people with disabilities and the homeless, and we really, really care and want to help them and fund supports. But when it comes to kids with disabilities, one, they're the ones who really got the brunt end of the stick during COVID.
Oh, sure.
And two, you cannot find caregivers. There is a massive shortage in Washington state. And so now they're even talking about cutting funding for caregiving for these disabled kids because the caregiver hours are not being used. They're not being used because there aren't enough caregivers available. So we have about 55 hours of caregiving hours available for our son. We use 0 every month.
So this is something that flew under my radar. And Kayla, for this, I apologize because these bills were not even on my radar. Didn't even see they were happening. But this is something that, don't you think, should have been a broader discussion? Don't you think there should have been something up for debate? And look, even if you want to say we don't want to use Medicaid for it, or we want to use something else for it, or we want to ask the federal government, or we want to take some of the money we're going to give to the public schools, whatever the case may be, to pay the parents who now it's a full-time job and you can't find somebody to do it. Don't you think that's a discussion we should have had?
Yes, and it was a bill that we had proposed. There's a lot of advocacy groups out there, and it was a bill that was proposed last legislative session, and it was thrown out because of the cost. Well, if you do the math, realistically, it pans out if you're paying parents. When you are a parent of a disabled child, you are way more prone to being under poverty levels because you cannot work. You have to be home caring for your child. So it definitely merits discussion. It definitely merits more advocacy from a larger advocacy group than just parents of kids with disabilities. That's about 5% of the population, realistically. There's not enough of us to get our voices out there and essentially, argue our case.
I'll tell you what, Kayla, let's do this, okay? I'm going to talk to some people and see if this is one of these things that could come back as a zombie bill this legislative cycle, but I don't want to get your hopes up. If it's around next year and the same people are proposing it and something similar, do me a favor, stay in touch with me, ari@kvi.com. That's ari@kvi.com. And let's get into this and let's get some more eyes on this thing, because I think one of the biggest problems was that nobody was talking about it except for the small community you mentioned. And when that's happening, everybody's too busy focusing on, are my taxes going to go up? Is public safety? Are we funding or not funding the thing the other side is politically hot on? And things like this that could make a meaningful difference in people's lives slip through the cracks. Can you do that for me?
Absolutely. And you better believe that we're going to keep fighting for our kids and for everything that they need, because we have to.
Yeah. And
no
Kayla, I
have
expect you to hold me to this. Okay? Where you say, Ari, you said you would help us out with this. Here's all the information. I want it in front of me so I know what I'm talking about. I need to be educated on it. Okay?
Perfect. Will do. Thank you so much, Ari.
All right. Thanks, Kayla. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. I'm going to put this offer out to all of our listeners, by the way. If there are common sense pieces of legislation that were close to your heart for a very specific reason, or even an unspecific reason, but there were pieces of legislation that because we were too busy doing the hot button items and we weren't paying attention to some of these smaller bills, put them in front of us. It's only me and Mike in here. It's only so much we can go through, guys. Email them over to us, ari@kvi.com. That's ari@kvi.com. Let's see if we can help out some people, make people's lives a little bit better. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss as the show continues. Fallout from certain speeches during the Oscars. But on top of that, now, question is funding going to continue going to organizations that are undermining this government? We'll explain when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, coming up at 4:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including 2 tickets to an advanced screening of Novocaine, plus a prize pack. Yeah, another reason. Always keep your radio tuned to 570 KVI, left on your dial, always right on the issues. You can also stream us at KVI.com, download the KVI app, and of course, subscribe to us on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. Well, while it seems like Donald Trump has his entire cabinet ready to go, that was a pretty packed room we saw last week during that press conference, but he doesn't have everybody there yet. Some of the positions which need to be confirmed are not confirmed yet. So, for example, Elise Stefanik, who's going to be his UN ambassador. She's not confirmed yet. We haven't had all those hearings yet, I don't think, which I'm excited. I'm looking forward to this. So, she was actually speaking for the Anti-Defamation League over the weekend, and I know you go, oh, Anti-Defamation League. I say the same thing. But it's Elise Stefanik, and listen to what she said.
And I am honored to join President Trump in this fight, earning his nomination to serve in his cabinet as the next U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. We know the United Nations is indeed a deep den of anti-Semitism, infected with the same rampant anti-Israel and anti-American hate and moral rot that has polluted America's higher education system. Especially since the barbaric Hamas attacks of October 7th, the UN has continuously betrayed Israel, betraying America in the process, acting instead as an apologist for Iran and Iran's terrorist proxies. Under President Trump, as United States ambassador to the United Nations, the days of propping up organizations that run counter to our interest are long gone. We will no longer fund terrorism, anti-Semitism, and anti-Israel hate. That stops immediately.
Man, I can't wait for her to get to the UN. I really can't. You thought Nikki Haley was good. Oh, wait till Elise Stefanik shows up. Like I said, I would like nothing better than for her to show up on the first day and say, just want you to know, we're cutting all your funding and we are revoking all of your diplomatic plates. But don't worry, because we're turning the entire UN into parking for you. We can solve this right away. So the last time we asked this question, everybody said, oh, turn it into shelter for the illegal immigrants. But New York's cleaning out all the illegal immigrants. So what? You want it to be a homeless shelter now? You want to turn it into a parking lot? What do you want to see happen with the UN? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. In fact, I'll put another challenge in front of you. Can you think of one good thing the UN has done? Just one. Give me one good thing. That's all I'm asking for. Anything. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Cheryl in Linwood. Cheryl, what's going on?
Hi, Ari. I missed what your gripe was about the library system. I'm coming from my mother was blind, and it was a godsend for her because they brought her books that were more current than what the government provides. And believe me, I'm not against that at all.
Sure. Sure. I'll tell you what my gripe is. So let me back up a second here. When I was a kid, my grandparents lived near the Highland Park Library in Illinois. That's right outside Chicago. It's where Ferris Bueller and all those movies happened, right? And they had a better video takeout system than Blockbuster did. Right? They had a better CD system than anything. I mean, that's where I used to get all my stuff from. It was great. It was fantastic. I used to take the CDs. I would, rip wasn't the right word. I would record on tape from the CDs. That's where I got all my stuff and get all these great movies. I'm not saying the libraries don't provide great services, but the problem we're having, especially in our area right now, is they have become internet cafes for the homeless. And they're having issues where librarians have reported time and time again of having to clean needles out of the stacks and that there's blood on the books because they clean the needles on the books. So we have an issue, and that issue needs to be addressed. And I also think there are ways to solve some of these things that are going on in the libraries because the library is an outdated system. Are there great programs? Sure. But kids aren't going to the library to do research programs with the Dewey Decimal System anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So I didn't even know they offered the program you're talking about. And I'm sure there's a dozen programs I didn't know that individual libraries offer or county libraries offer. But at the same time, don't you think we need a reform of the system if we're having this issue with the homeless in the libraries?
Absolutely. And let's reform it. But I just didn't want everybody to think it's a horrible system, because for those that are handicapped, it's a godsend. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, sure. And I'll tell you, I completely agree with you, Cheryl. In fact, there's some programs I know that different libraries offer. But, for example, the Seattle libraries around here, you walk into any single one of them, they have a display promoting Hamas. And I say, is this really something my tax dollars should be funding? I mean, there's a bookstore in my neighborhood that I stopped going to because that's what you see when you walk into their little bookstores, the Hamas Kafia and all the pro-Hamas stuff. It's a hard pass for me, so that's just a no-go. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And I truly understand your consternation about it.
Yeah, but I understand where you're
agree.
coming from, Cheryl. I understand that there are these great programs that a lot of libraries offer, like the old video rental version that I had, even though they had better stuff than Blockbuster, I tell you. Cheryl, appreciate the perspective, appreciate the call. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Meanwhile, CARE, the Council for American Islamic Relations, which is a branch of Hamas, one of the largest Muslim nonprofits operating across the U.S., has settled a case brought by a former board member and employee rather than open its books to reveal sources of foreign funding. According to the New York Post, evidence in past court proceedings have shown links between the Council of American Islamic Relations and both Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood. CARE settled with Lori Soroya on Thursday, months after U.S. Magistrate Judge David Schultz ruled any assets owned by the group are within the scope of permissible discovery as part of a former Minnesota chapter's lawsuit against a controversial group. So what happened? She filed her federal defamation complaint against CARE last year after the group dropped a lawsuit against her, which accused her of embarking on a defamation campaign against the organization. Lawmakers are demanding a federal investigation into the nonprofit, which took in more than $5.3 million in contributions and grants in 2022, the last year for which public filings are available. According to Josh Gottheimer, a Democratic congressman from New Jersey, CARE's leadership has a long history of spewing vile anti-Semitism, anti-Zionist rhetoric, including openly praising the Hamas terrorists that brutally attacked Israel, murdering, raping, and kidnapping more than 1,200 people in October. Referring to court proceedings, which showed the links, he added the allegations that CARE receives funding from Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood, if true, are deeply concerning and require an immediate investigation. CARE, which was founded in 1993, was linked to Hamas in 2008 when U.S. authorities successfully prosecuted 5 leaders at the Holy Land Foundation for Relief and Development, a now defunct Texas-based nonprofit, for giving more than $12 million from the U.S. to the terrorist organization. So what was happening here was this woman was suing them for discrimination against her, and that would have opened up everything to discovery, because that's what happens in a lawsuit. When all of a sudden you have to do a lawsuit, you are not allowed any secrets, and anybody who's seen My Cousin Vinny knows it's called full disclosure. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. When we come back, Andrew Cuomo enters the New York mayoral race. Oi. Give you the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, if you want to see this beautiful face and this receding hairline, check out our video stream over on Rumble, Facebook, X, and the KVI YouTube, my friends. Well, blast from the past, but you knew this was going to happen eventually. Andrew Cuomo is now announcing that he is running for mayor of New York City.
Now, that's a name I've not heard in a long time. A long time.
Mike, check me on this. I think he resigned in disgrace my first year on air. I remember hitting that very, very hard. We had Janice Dean on the show from Fox News. Janice Dean is obviously their meteorologist. She has been for a very, very long time, but her in-laws were in old age homes, nursing homes in New York, and they were killed because Andrew Cuomo sent COVID-positive patients into the nursing homes. Now, it's one thing to say we didn't know, but what was the one thing, two things we knew from the beginning? We knew two things from the very beginning. One, the elderly are at risk. Two, that kids are not at risk. So what did we do? Sent the COVID-positive patients into the nursing homes and shut down all the schools. Here's something else. They sent a hospital ship to New York. Wouldn't it have made more sense to send the COVID patients to the hospital ship so they're not in the hospitals and not in the nursing homes? But no, they did it backwards because government is stupid. Do you remember Cuomo having all the grab ass with his brother on CNN just to raise his profile, writing books about how amazing he was? And then do you remember a little exclusive reporting we did here on the Ari Hoffman Show last year? I knew this day was coming, so when I got this story, I said, you know what? I want to have this in my back pocket because Cuomo will be back. A political animal like him doesn't go quietly into the night. Let's remember, he went down for sex allegations, meaning sexual harassment and things of that nature, because if he had gone down for the COVID stuff, and he had a higher body count than the disease itself, I think, if he had gone down for that, that would have taken down Inslee, who did the same thing. That would have taken down Whitmer. That would have taken down Newsom. That would have taken down every single Democrat governor who did the exact same thing. So he had to go down for something else. And they made it the sexual harassment. Now, I'm not saying the sexual harassment thing didn't happen. There was an army of women who said that it did. I'm not questioning them. But at the same time, he should have gone down for both. His bad policies killed a lot of people. And what's nauseating to me is how quickly even people I like are running to embrace him. Why? Because they don't like Eric Adams. We don't like Eric Adams here on the show. We don't. But can we get somebody else, please? Somebody else to run for mayor of New York? This is the problem. Oh, name recognition. Let's bring back Cuomo. Do you remember what he did? You remember him targeting the Jewish community? You remember that when Jewish private schools and Catholic private schools and charter schools all reopened, he or de Blasio did it and he did nothing to stop it, sent the health inspectors into the Jewish schools, but didn't send them into any of the other ones? We filed a Freedom of Information Act request when it happened, and we didn't get it back till last year. That's 4 years it took for us to get that request back. 4 years. But why'd I do the story? Why'd I run with the story? Because I knew that Andrew Cuomo would be back, just like his brother. You may not have heard of Chris Cuomo in a while because he's over on News Nation, but he's still on News Nation, and his clips pop up from time to time, and he's trying to sound more like a conservative talker, but I know who you really are. We all know who you really are. So, no, absolutely not. Do we ever play clips of Chris Cuomo over on News Nation? I don't think that's something in our repertoire.
No, but I do like that time he had that adorable girl with the Tourette's on there.
Yes,
she's
yes.
like, butter your biscuit.
Yes.
Just like
that was definitely something.
Yeah,
that was something.
That girl has a show on the Learning Channel now, which I have yet to watch, but I'd really like to.
Now I'm kind of curious. Now I'm
Yeah,
gonna
me
check
too.
that out tonight. But really, Andrew Cuomo's back, and people we like are supporting him. I'm disappointed in everybody. I really am. Well, I will say I reached out to his office for an interview. Let's see how desperate he is to get in front of cameras. Let's see how desperate he is to get airtime. And we'll let you know what Andrew Cuomo's team has to say about coming on the Ari Hoffman Show. Lots more to discuss as the show continues. When we come back, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including movie tickets to Novocaine and a prize pack, as Mike and I review the latest movies and TV shows. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Just a fair warning, this is a spoiler-filled review of Cobra Kai's final season, if you're one of the few people still watching like me. Look, I love the Karate Kid movies. They have a special place of nostalgia in my heart. And when they first announced this TV show, it was clearly based on the joke in the TV show How I Met Your Mother about Johnny Lawrence, the bad guy in the first Karate Kid movie, actually being the good guy because he's the real Karate Kid, and Daniel's son stole his girlfriend and kicked him with an illegal move, and yeah, Johnny's life was ruined. The first 2 seasons of Cobra Kai were really good. Really good. The first one was kind of more funny. The second one was legit good, as Mike would say, including that big battle royale between all the kids. And after that, it seemed like they were just trying to catch lightning in a bottle. This show should have gone 3, maybe 4 seasons, not 6. And definitely not another movie spinoff with Jackie Chan or something that's coming out in theaters that I saw a trailer for during The Winter Soldier. So much so that I literally went, boo, in the theater while the trailer was being played. I get Ralph Macchio doesn't exactly have the offers pouring in. I get that Johnny Lawrence or whatever, William Zabka doesn't have the movie offers pouring in. But I will say about this season, something that's disappointing to me is that the last episode was actually really good. In fact, the last couple episodes were really, really good. But we should have done this like 3-4 years ago because they were so desperate to extend this show and extend the plot that they came up with some really, really goofy stuff. Some plot point involving Mr. Miyagi, having killed somebody, having been in some tournament. Okay, guys, I'm a purist. Can we go back to the original movies? In the second one, left Okinawa to be in the U.S., to run away from Sato because he couldn't marry Yukio. Oh, my God, I can't believe I know all this stuff off the top of my head. All right, there was no discussion. He always said, you don't fight for a tournament, right? This isn't tournament. This is real. Mr. Miyagi didn't do that. And then you start saying he was in a tournament and he killed. Stop it. And then the thing that upset me the most, Pat Morita has been dead for a while. As we would say, super dead. I really got issues with...
Super dead.
Exactly. I really got issues with bringing people back to life. It is rare. It is tasteful. I think I can name 2, maybe 3 tasteful times they did it. 1, Princess Leia at the end of Rogue One, young Princess Leia. That's it. That's 1 2-second thing. Cute, good, all right. Carrie Fisher just died. People saw it as kind of a tribute. Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One, some people liked it, some people didn't like it. Mike's getting ready to weigh in.
You'll forget that ghoul puppet thing is like 3rd build in that movie.
Yes.
You forget how much that I'm trying to find something other than ghoulish, but like this computer ghost.
Yes.
This specter is in that movie. He's in it quite a lot.
Yeah, it's not great. Let's put it there. Egon, Harold Ramis in Ghostbusters, we allowed it because he didn't have any speaking lines. It was kind of a touching moment, and then he was gone, poof, and it kind of made sense for the plot-ish, kind of. We allowed it. I'll say we allowed it.
I also like how this segment has become spoilers for all movies ever. By the way, Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father, and Bucky Barnes is the Winter Soldier.
Okay, if they haven't seen all these other movies by now, that's their problem. But I will say is that bringing back Pat Morita, it felt cheap, it felt grabby, and it didn't even look good. If you're going to do that, make it look good. Look, even the Princess Leia one didn't look great. She looked more like a computer video game person. But the Egon one, it looked okay because he was a ghost, and you kind of got away with it because he was a ghost. I really didn't like that. However, the last few episodes of this show are about the redemption of Johnny Lawrence. They really are. And how he's not a terrible guy. And actually, I was watching a behind-the-scenes interview with him, and he was talking about how in the room where they were doing the big tournament in the first movie, everybody's booing him, and everybody's screaming at him, and his mother's going, he's really a nice boy. He just plays a bad guy. And the truth is, that's kind of the character actor he's been. It was a great character arc for him, especially the ending. So if you like the Karate Kid movies, you'll go watch the last few episodes. You can skip a lot of the ones in the middle. Just watch the last 2. You'll be happy. You'll be mad about the same things I'm mad about. but you'll be happy. Before I forget, your chance to win fantabulous prizes today. We're giving away 2 tickets to the Novocaine advanced screening plus a prize pack. I'm actually excited for this movie. That's a rare thing. I'm really excited
This
for
one
this
looks
movie.
like a lot of fun.
Yes.
I'm pretty stoked for it as well.
I'm very entertained because it's about everyman Nate, who turns his inability to feel pain into an unexpected strength to get back the girl of his dreams. This looks like fun. I'm excited for it. See Novocaine in theaters beginning on March 14th. All you have to do in order to win 2 tickets to Novocaine Advanced Screening plus a prize pack is be caller number 10 at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Caller number 10 wins 2 tickets to the Novocaine Advanced Screening and a prize pack. See Novocaine in theaters March 14th. Phone lines are open now. Give Mike a call for your chance to win at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, Donald Trump has cut off aid to Ukraine. What is this, a negotiating tactic, or is he just that mad about what happened on Friday? We'll analyze when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and on the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card. But before we get to that, we had a little issue during our last contest. A reminder to everybody, when you call to enter a contest, you have to have a valid email address. And if you don't have a valid email address, you cannot win the contest. So what we're going to do is reopen the phone lines right now, and caller number 10 will win two tickets to the Novocaine Advanced Screening plus a prize pack. When the girl of his dreams is kidnapped, everyman Nate turns his inability to feel pain into an unexpected strength in his fight to get her back. See Novocaine in theaters March 14th. So, all you have to do in order to win the Novocaine prize pack and two tickets to an advanced screening is be caller number 10 at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Phone lines are open now. Give Mike a call for your chance to win. Getting back to the news for a minute here. According to the Wall Street Journal, the U.S. will pause all military aid to Kyiv until President Trump determines that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is making a good faith effort towards peace negotiations with Russia. Now, this is fascinating, by the way, because at this point, question is, where do we end with all this? Now, let's look at World War II for a second. Regarding World War II, the British gave everything they had. The UK gave everything they had, as did many other countries. Here, Europe is not stepping up. Now, after the whole blow-up in the White House between Zelenskyy and Trump, let's go back to what was happening. Let's go back for those of you who may have missed what was happening here. Everything was going fine. Everything was going swimmingly. But then we found out over the weekend that apparently Zelenskyy had met with not just Lindsey Graham before all this, who said, be nice, be thankful, go in there, be polite, and everything will be wonderful. Apparently the Democrats told him to blow up the meeting. That's what he did. He blew up the meeting. So Donald Trump took pot shots at him for 45 minutes of this meeting until finally couldn't do it anymore. Because Zelenskyy was saying, no, we need you to defend us. No, we need more help. No, we need security guarantees. You were getting a security guarantee. Trump had said multiple times in this meeting this was the first step. You always got to start somewhere in a deal. And the first thing you got to do is get the fighting to stop, or you're never going to get a peace deal. So what happens is, let's just revisit what happened on Friday. Time after time after time, Zelenskyy is taking shots at Trump until finally this happens with J.D. Vance.
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you are
Mr.
not
President,
strong...
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Okay, let's stop right there for a second. We've all seen the videos of the forced conscriptions. We even saw the developmentally disabled person with Down syndrome who may have been forcibly conscripted. Now, I don't know if that's propaganda. I don't know if that's real. I just know these videos are out there. But at the same time, Ukraine is losing. And if not for the U.S., they would have lost a very, very long time ago. Look what happened when the U.S. didn't do anything when Russia went into Crimea. Look what happened when the U.S. didn't do anything when they went to the Donbass region. The problem is, and I will say this until I'm blue in the face, nobody has told me what winning looks like for this war. Not Zelenskyy, not Joe Biden, not the Democrats. Does it mean that Ukraine gets back the Donbass region? Does it mean that Ukraine gets back Crimea? Does it mean that Putin's taken out and a new government is installed in Russia? What does winning look like? And I'm still waiting for somebody to tell me the answer to that one. In the meantime, we're on the hook for funding it. So after this deal blows up and Zelenskyy gets tossed from the White House, all these European leaders come out so brave, so strong that they can tweet so bravely, so strongly that they're backing Ukraine. Well, number one, why haven't you backed them till now? Oh, right, because you count on the U.S. providing all your security concerns. So let's be real about things for a minute here. It's real easy to offer free health care. It's real easy to have 3-day work weeks or whatever they do in France, or never work. When the U.S. is covering big-ticket items like national defense, which is what we are doing. So now you all step up and say you want to help? Great. Put your money where your mouth is. You guys back up Ukraine, pay for everything, because this ain't our war. Now, is Putin evil? Is Putin terrible? Yes. Is he bent on reestablishing the USSR and world domination? Absolutely. But he's right next door to you guys. So how about kicking in a little bit more? How about helping out a little bit more? Plus, you're going to have a hard time talking to the American public about sending their sons and daughters to defend Ukraine, especially with all the problems they got over there with corruption and stuff. Also, Donald Trump is the populist president. And right now, it seems like PR is on his side. It seems like the narrative is on his side. In fact, even CNN was saying this in their poll. Wait, CNN, that can't be right. I must have read that wrong, right? Let me go to my little black book of the right-wing media conspiracy. Let's see, I got Newsmax, I got Fox, Daily Wire, Daily Caller. I do not have CNN. But here's what their polling was telling us.
So I think the easiest way we can kind of just ask this is, do Americans like the way that Trump's handling his job and compare it to how they felt about Joe Biden? So this is the net approval rating. You look at Joe Biden back in 2024, he was 22 points underwater. Holy cow. You look at Donald Trump, it's just a different planet entirely. I mean, the gulf between these two is wider than the Gulf of America or Mexico, depending on which side of the aisle you stand on. He's at +2. So, look, at this particular point, Americans are giving Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt. He's doing considerably better than Joe Biden was doing on the handling of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. And so on this simple question, I think Americans are saying, okay, Donald Trump's doing all right on this.
So, right there, you got it. America is not hot on this war. They're really not. So it's only going to get worse, by the way, except for the never-Trumpers who are going to blame this all on Trump, even though the Democrats set up Zelenskyy to go in there and get torpedoed. So the question is, can we get this back on track? And Donald Trump got asked this question today a couple of times.
President Zelenskyy supposedly made a statement today in AP. I'm not a big fan of AP, so maybe it was an incorrect statement, but he said he thinks the war's going to go on for a long time. And he better not be right about that. That's all I'm saying.
So now you got another problem. Zelenskyy doesn't even know the end game to this. Look, let's compare this to the other big world conflict that everybody's talking about. Let's compare this to what's going on in Gaza. Number one, we know that because of Joe Biden was withholding weapons that Israel had paid for. Let me say that again. Israel had paid for. Do we sell Israel weapons? Yes. Do we give them aid? Yes. But they spend that aid on American weapons plus more, helping our contractors, helping our economy, paying back what we give them. In addition to that, you ask anybody who supports Israel, what are the two goals of this war? 1, return the hostages. 2, Hamas is destroyed. We still don't know the end game. And Ukraine is losing where Israel is winning. If Israel had been allowed to do what Israel had to do, this war would have been over a lot sooner. And now Donald Trump is giving them the green light. I don't know if you heard over the weekend, but Israel finally said no more aid shipments to Hamas because they're stealing all the aid for the starving Palestinians who look very well fed every time there's one of their hostage turnover ceremonies. So spare me this stuff about the starving Palestinians. Enough of that garbage. By the way, anybody else mention this? You know the utilities in Gaza are provided by Israel? Instead of actually building their own utilities and infrastructure, they build terror tunnels. They take the pipes meant for water and they use them to build rockets. We know what we are fighting there. We know what the goal is. We know what the end game is in Gaza. Nobody knows what it is in Russia. Nobody has any idea what the end game is in Ukraine. So they asked Trump again, how can we fix this?
What do you need to see from President Zelenskyy to restart these negotiations?
Well, I just think he should be more appreciative because this country has stuck with them through thick and thin. We've given them much more than Europe, and Europe should have given more than us because, as you know, that's right there. That's the border. This country really was like the fence on the border. It was very important to Europe, and I'm not knocking Europe. I'm saying that they were a lot smarter than Joe Biden because Joe Biden didn't have a clue. He just gave money hand over fist. And they should have been able to equalize with us. In other words, if we gave $1, they should have given. Well, we gave $350 billion. They probably gave $100, but on top of it all, they get their money back because they're doing it in the form of a loan, and it's a secured loan. So when I saw that, which I've known about for a little while, I said it's time for us to be smart. At the same time, it's great for them because they get us in the country taking the rare earth, which is going to fuel this big engine, and especially the engine that we've in a very short time created, and we get something, and we're there. We have a presence there. With all of that being said, I want one thing to happen. I want all of those young people to stop being killed. They're being killed by the thousands every single week. Last week, 2,700 were killed. 2,700 young, in this case, just about all young boys from Ukraine and from Russia. And that's not young people from the United States, but it's on a human basis. I want to see it stop. The money is one thing, but the death. And they're losing thousands of soldiers a week. And that's not including the people that get killed every time a town goes down or a missile goes into a town. And I want to see it stop.
Now, Zelenskyy, whether he was sabotaged by the Democrats or whether he's dumb on his own or whether he was trying to score points with Europe against Trump, here's the thing, guys. Think about somebody else whose resources we want. Taiwan. If China attacks Taiwan, we have to go to war with them because we need Taiwan's microchips. They make the computer chips for us, so they are a protectorate of the United States, plus we like freedom and we don't like China. The same thing would have happened with Ukraine, at least for the short term, where it would have been if U.S. contractors are in there, boots on the ground, pulling out minerals, metals, oil, gas. It's like that joke from Friends, protecting American oil interests overseas. Go, Joe, right? Like that's what we would have been doing. And Putin would not have come in because the U.S. is there. That would have addressed security, and it could have been the bridge to other things. But because Zelenskyy detonated the meetings, now things are even worse for him. Now, you want a comparison? Let's see how things are going with Taiwan. Wasn't it during the Biden administration we were worried about Taiwan being invaded? China didn't even invade Taiwan during the Biden administration. Well, let's see how things are going with Taiwan, shall we?
Today, Taiwan Semiconductor is announcing that they will be investing at least $100 billion in new capital in the United States over the next short period of time to build state-of-the-art semiconductor manufacturing facilities. I think mostly it's going to be in Arizona, which is what I understand, which is a great state.
That's not all. We also have Honda announcing that they're bringing back manufacturing to the U.S. This follows Stellantis saying they're bringing back Dodge and Chrysler and Jeep. And don't forget about our friends down at Renton, Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram in Renton that sponsor the show. It took care of the tires of my car recently. Head on down there for that. Like all this production is coming back to the U.S., which is huge, which is great, which is wonderful. And you know who could be a beneficiary of that? Because it's U.S. contractors doing the work, because Ukraine's busy fighting a war with Russia. And you know what? We'd be splitting that money with them, whatever the end split was going to be, the negotiation. But Zelenskyy decided to blow up the negotiations, whether that was to score points with Europe, whether that was to score points with the American media. Do you remember, what was it, last week? My God, it seems like it's been years of the Trump administration so far because so much has happened. But do you remember last week what J.D. Vance said?
I mean, look, as the president said, we're not going to do the negotiation in public with the American media. He's going to do it in private with the president of Russia, with the president of Ukraine, and with other leaders. And I think that's how this has to go. I think I just want to push back against some of the criticism I've seen of the administration on this, because every single time the president engages in diplomacy, you guys preemptively accuse him of conceding to Russia. He hasn't conceded anything to anyone. He's doing the job of a diplomat, and he is, of course, the diplomat-in-chief as the President of the United States.
It's called diplomacy, guys. Let me ask you a question. Joe Biden yelled at Zelenskyy. Anybody remember that? Anybody remember that? I didn't hear the harsh criticism for any of that. And here's something else. Joe Biden criticized Putin all the time. Where'd he get him? Was there ever an off-ramp? Was there ever a way to end the deal? Yes, Putin is evil. Yes, Putin is terrible. Yes, Russia is evil. Yes, Russia is terrible. But did that get you anywhere? Trump is trying out something else. And you know what? With all the investments coming in, his administration gets to crow a little bit, as his press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, did earlier today.
And Caroline Leavitt, I heard through the grapevine that you made $100 million from Taiwan Semiconductor. Tremendous investment. I know the company well, and I remember we had them relocate into the United States in the first term. $100 million isn't bad, Caroline Leavitt.
$100 billion, Larry. Don't underestimate the numbers.
Did I say million?
No,
$100 billion. I'm sorry.
$100 billion with a B, and it's going to create 20 to 25,000 good-paying jobs at least. They are going to create a new manufacturing facility in the great state of Arizona. They are going to produce chips right here in the United States of America, which is not going to just create more jobs. It's also going to protect America's national security. As we know, chips are so important to our manufacturing industry. So it's a great day for the American public. And this racks up the total of foreign investments brought back home to $1.7 trillion in 1 month since President Trump took office. It took Joe Biden 4 years to get $1 trillion in private investments secured. So President Trump has already surpassed what Joe Biden did in 4 years in 1 month. And that's why he's the greatest president we've ever had. And America is open for business, and the world knows it.
Now, can anybody name for me one thing that Joe Biden accomplished? Just one. One thing. Democrats are having trouble coming up with anything. Now, what's the big thing? State of the Unions tomorrow night, right? And they're going to talk about who's boycotting. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not really the State of the Union. It's the pretend State of the Union. Give me a break. You know what it says about the State of the Union? He shall, from time to time, address the Congress. It's a time. He's addressing the Congress. It's a State of the Union. Anywho, you're going to hear, oh, the Democrats, they're so brave for boycotting. Democrats don't have a message. This is all they got. When you're being destroyed by Bill Maher, then you know you're in trouble because he hates Donald Trump. And here he's talking about our very own Washington State Senator Patty Murray.
Look, here's the thing. Voters aren't really savvy about the issues, but they do have made it clear what is important to them. Authenticity, balls, and charisma. Trump has that package, and so does Fetterman. He's only been a senator 2 years, and he's already more famous than most of his colleagues. Quick, I dare you to name this sad-looking lady from Washington State who's been in the Senate for 30 years. You can't teach charisma or balls.
He's 100% right. Speaking of no charisma or balls, Tim Walz is talking about running for president of the United States. No joke, he got asked about that on a podcast over the weekend and said he might be interested in doing so. They haven't learned their lesson. So all they do is attack, and try to undermine Donald Trump. Well, congratulations, guys. You're the ones who have the Ukrainian flag in your bio. Well, guess what? You may have just extended this war because you teed up Zelenskyy to go head-to-head with Trump, and he lost. And he lost big time. We're going to have the Mar-a-Lago Accords this weekend, or is Zelenskyy going to come back on bended knee to the White House to beg for a solution now that he realizes he messed up so bad? But you know, at the end of the day, what do you think about this war? You think we should even be helping Zelenskyy anymore? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, King County's pleading poverty, saying they're going to have to cut public safety and all these other things. But what are they actually spending the money on? We'll have that for you, plus more. But first, Todd Herman's Daily Thoughtcast, right now on The Ari Hoffman Show. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Congratulations to Bob in Sammamish. You are the proud winner of 2 tickets to an advanced screening of Novocaine plus a Novocaine prize pack. Remember, your next chance to win is coming up at 5:45 during our Good News giveaway and our Good News headlines. Yet another reason to always keep your radio tuned to the 570 KVI, left on your dial, always right on the issues. You can also stream us at KVI.com. Download the KVI app, and of course, subscribe to us on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. Well, political shills like King County Sheriff Patty Cole Tyndall, who was appointed by Dow Constantine, are saying, oh no, we don't have enough money because we overspent so bad, and now your public safety is going to be at risk. Come On News has a story for us.
Consequences of a $150 million county budget crisis. The King County Sheriff's Office faces the steepest cut.
To be clear, the $30.2 million reduction will have a devastating impact on our communities.
Unincorporated communities like White Center, Redmond Ridge, Vashon Island, to name a few, could see half of its deputies wiped, leading to delayed response times and less resources.
Not all stabbings, robberies, and violent crimes will be investigated.
$15.5 million possibly slashed from the prosecuting attorney's office.
We currently do not have the resources necessary to meet the current demand in our community, and the loss of 90 deputy prosecuting attorneys would be devastating.
Tens of millions may be cut from jail and courts. Several million from the public defender's office. How the county got itself into a $150 million budget deficit?
For over 20 years, we have had our property tax ability capped at 1% per year plus new construction, and it simply has not kept up with population growth and inflation.
State law caps property tax increases to 1% a year, though a proposal introduced at the legislature would lift that to 3%. While the budget planning process is still in the early stages, county agencies preparing to tighten the belt.
People have said we need to do more with less, and we have been doing that for over 2 decades now. Today, we are simply doing less with less.
Stella Sun, Como News.
No, that's not why you don't have the money. You want to know why you don't have the money? Here's a headline from April 3rd of 2023. Seattle spent nearly $1 billion on homelessness, but numbers continued to rise. King County's homeless program spent $70 million. Homelessness continues to rise. King County spends over $195 million on homelessness services, yet the number of people experiencing homelessness in the county has increased. That's one example of the insane spending they're doing around here, and now it is costing you businesses. One example from Como News. The addition of a soon-to-be homeless hotel is causing one of Kirkland's largest employers to move out of town. Intrix CEO Brian Mistel made the announcement on X. This week, Intrix signed a lease which will move us out of Kirkland, which has been our home for the past 18 years. Why? Because the city of Kirkland made a decision to put a homeless hotel right across the street from our current headquarters. Mistel went on to claim that no drug testing would be required at the facility and there would be no real supervision on site. He says where this experiment has happened before in King County, crime rates have risen, since according to reliable data, 70% plus of the homelessness is a result of drug addiction and or mental health issues. As Como News first reported in March of 2023, the Kirkland City Council approved a plan to turn the former La Quinta Inn Hotel into housing for homeless people. King County leaders said they selected La Quinta Inn and Suites to serve as the next health through housing location. According to county leaders, the building would house residents experiencing and at risk of chronic homelessness. Oh, let's remember for a second, they bought this thing years ago and they've been sitting on it the whole time. Under the current plans, the site will become a homeless hotel sometime in 2025. Intrix was one of Kirkland's top employers. While a move-out date hasn't been made public yet, nearby businesses predict the Kirkland economy will take a hit. Yes, because what's nearby? Restaurants, barbershops, grocery stores. And when you're employing that many people and they move out, the effects are felt. Look at South Lake Union. Mike Dunn, owner of Dunn Lumber, says you're going to move the tax base. The people who can move will move, and basically the area will slowly deteriorate. It's the challenge of having employees coming into an area where their cars are going to get broken into and where leaving at night is a scary deal. Anybody who's either lived or worked next to a homeless shelter knows that it gets scary. It's just the way it is. Spokesman for the city provided the following statement. The city of Kirkland is disappointed to hear about Intrex's decision to leave Kirkland because of the Health Through Housing project. We understand the surrounding businesses and residents have concerns whenever a facility like this is cited. The safety of the facility's residents, surrounding businesses, and community is the city's top priority. Really? Tell us how it's your top priority. Tell us how. Because nowhere else has this model been successful? Or better yet, tell me one place where you guys have put in a homeless shelter where it hasn't destroyed the community. They said the city supports the facility to provide stable and safe homes for up to 102 disabled and chronically unhoused individuals. Oh, give me a break. You mean homeless drug addicts and criminals, right? While also being a positive addition to the community when it opens later this year. How is it positive? What's it going to help? Up to 65% of these new residents will be people experiencing homelessness from Kirkland or the East Side. Lies. All lies. How do I know this? Because we know that over 50% of the homeless people in the Seattle area are from outside the Seattle area. When you're saying they're residents of Kirkland, they're residents of Kirkland now. They're residents of the East Side now. They got moved here. To keep all parties safe, the city negotiated with King County for various important elements to be included in the agreement regarding the facility. Like what? Like what? Oh, wait. We're going to have a code of conduct, safety plan, good neighbor agreement, and community engagement plan. Wow. I feel safer already. Right, because they won't actually bring the police in, right? Says, regarding Mr. Mostell's statement about not being able to speak to the council on this topic, the city has reached out to him for more information about this. We searched our records and have no record of Mr. Mostell being turned away at council meetings. You mean he probably tried to reach out to you directly and you guys didn't bother responding because we know at council meetings you ignore everybody. So congratulations. You guys are about to lose a massive, massive employer. Great, wonderful, fantastic. The largest employer in your city. And they're going to take their tax revenue with them. Why? Because you chose the homeless drug addicts who aren't even from this area over businesses that actually provide revenue. Yet another amazing thing they're spending your money on in King County that is actually costing them money in the long run. How much money do you think they're going to lose from taxes based on all that? Right. But then they're going to say, oh, now we have to cut public safety. That's because you fools chased a business out of the area. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. When we come back, I'm not tired of all the winning happening in Washington, D.C. We'll give you some of the latest wins when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Forgot to mention, by the way, we're having another contest online. Yes, the winning continues here at KVI. Go to KVI.com for your chance to win four tickets to the Seattle RV Show. 61st Annual Seattle RV Show is rolling into Lumen Field Event Center from March 6th to 9th with over 400 brand new models from 50 manufacturers, 18 local dealers, and unbeatable show prices. Is a perfect place to explore the RV lifestyle. You'll find expert advice, special discounts, and even free camping offers with select RV purchases. Don't miss the biggest RV show in the Pacific Northwest. Head to the contest page at KVI.com for your chance to win tickets to the Seattle RV Show. That's KVI.com. Go to the contest page right now. Yes, my friends, your chances at winning continue. But meanwhile, the winning in D.C. continues as well because a new poll from Rasmussen has revealed that the majority of voters under the age of 40 approve of President Donald Trump's job performance over 10 points higher than those in the 40 to 64 age group and those 65 and older. Does this mean that the younger generation is becoming more conservative? Does this mean that they're trending more Republican? Or is it they think Trump's cool? The poll found that a total of 60% of voters between the ages of 18 and 39 approved Trump's job performance, including 35% who strongly approve, 25% who somewhat approve. In the 40 to 64 age group, 34% strongly approve and 12% somewhat approve for an approval rating of 46%. Of those ages 65 and older, 40% strongly approve, 5% somewhat approve for a total approval rating of 45%. Overall, 35% of likely voters strongly approve of Trump's job performance and 15% somewhat approved for a total approval rate of 50%. By the way, that may be the highest one he's ever had so far. Usually they're a lot lower, which means you're attracting more people to MAGA, to Team Trump, to America First, to the American Party, the Republican Party. More voters in the youngest age grouping also said the country was heading in the right direction as compared to their two older counterparts, with 54% in the 18 to 39 age bracket responding as such. You know, guys, I don't think you can hate on the millennials anymore. That's who you're talking about in some of those groups. In the 40 to 64 age group, 41% said the country was going in the right direction. And in the 65 and older group, 42% said it was on the right track. With a total of 45% of likely voters said that the country was heading in the right direction, with 50% saying it was going in the wrong direction, 5% being unsure. The poll was conducted between February 23rd and 27th. In response to the poll, Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk wrote, "The next generation wants a country and a future. Their parents don't seem as concerned. The kids are all right." Now, by the way, this has a lot to do with people like Charlie Kirk who are appealing to the younger generation, like the Daily Wire, who's appealing to the younger generation, like PragerU, who's appealing to the younger generation. This kind of stuff is having an impact. Yes, that stupidity of having the Village People on stage at a Turning Point USA thing. You may think to yourself, wait a minute, this is Turning Point USA. Isn't it supposed to be the college kids? It doesn't matter. It's fun. It's exciting. It's entertaining. I'll remind you of what happened on election night, right before the election. My son and my niece, who are not political, they come to me and they say, "Can we borrow your car for tomorrow?" I go, "Why do you want my car?" And they go, "Well, we want to just protest against all this battery-powered insanity." I go, "Okay, and what do you want to do with my car?" They said, "We want to decorate it for Trump because we think he's cool. We think he's fun." They took Trump hats. They took Trump flags. I said, "Don't fly it on the car. I know you people, you don't have the right flagpole for it. It's going to end up on the windshield, and then I won't have a car anymore." But they went to school. I will remind you of the results of the Jewish school, the only Jewish high school in our area. 96% of those teenagers voted for Donald Trump. A change is happening, my friends, with the younger generation. Can you keep that momentum going? That's going to be the biggest challenge we have, because here's something else. They like J.D. Vance. They don't know J.D. Vance. They only know J.D. Vance partnered together with Donald Trump. This is a challenge for Republicans to start thinking about now, by the way, guys. If you want J.D. Vance to be your nominee / president in 2028, you got to start thinking about how to make him relatable. Now, we've discussed how the moms love J.D. Vance. He's going to have Donald Trump's record, good or bad, to campaign with. How do you make J.D. Vance as appealable as MAGA is? Now, by the way, I think J.D. Vance is a great campaigner. I think he has the mass appeal. I know moms love him. Let me tell you something. I've even emulated some fashion advice from J.D. Vance. I like some of the fashion that J.D. does. So I'll tell you, I really like J.D. Vance, and I think this is a good direction. But I'm amazed that the kids are going that direction as well. The question is, how can you build off that? By continuing the winning. And right now, the winning is happening. So, for example, getting rid of these government employees. People love Doge. They absolutely love it. It's one of the most popular things in the Trump administration, which is why the left is attacking it so much, because we're finding the waste and more waste and more waste. There was an interview with a TSA officer at SeaTac. I believe this was from King 5, complaining about the email they had to write about what they had to accomplish this week.
This is Doge's way of frustrating people enough to either quit or be fired from their jobs.
This is just part of it. It's part of the reduction of government. If you don't comply to what we need, then you're gone.
This TSA officer at SeaTac did not want to be identified out of fear of retaliation, but told me local officers are frustrated.
If you're not performing your job properly, then you have your basic sit-down discussions, and then it moves on to the next level and the next step.
They were told last week they weren't actually required to answer an email from the U.S. government's chief HR agency saying this.
I want you to tell me what you did this past week, and 5 things that you've accomplished.
But they got that same email this weekend, and another one from their boss's boss, Department of Homeland Security, now requiring them to answer that question for them.
Well, obviously, there's a hiring freeze nationwide. That's also public, and that impacts locally as well. So if you are getting dismissal of people that are not complying to this ridiculous email, you're losing bodies that are going to directly impact your safety and security at an airport.
Gee, what did TSA accomplish this week? Well, Heidi Brion, who says that she's a political commentator slash cultural commentary and often joking, according to her Twitter bio, says, number 1, grope strangers. Number 2, went through underwear. Number 3, yelled for no reason. Number 4, made people take off shoes. Number 5, take away shampoo. By the way, if you had written that, you would have fulfilled your obligation. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Randall in Kirkland. Randall, what's up?
Hey, Ari. Hey, just wanted to give you a little bit of a sidelight on the Kirkland story of the business moving out of Kirkland, the major employer moving out of Kirkland, is that when that particular facility was bought by King County and very quietly approved by the city council of Kirkland with no or very little public input, the pass count for homeless people in Kirkland was somewhere around about 128. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but it was somewhere in the realm of about 128. That particular facility will give somewhere around 105 to 112 beds, and King County is allotting Kirkland 10% of those beds. Where are the rest of those beds going to be filled by?
Yes, exactly right. I mean, I remember the story because we covered it at the time. I remember the neighbors being furious about it because they weren't told about it. I remember all this fun. I mean, this was what, our first year on air, our second year on air where this story came up? I remember this insanity. Yeah. And let's not forget their track record with hotels. How about that Red Lion out in Renton, the one that became a crime magnet? How about the other Red Lion, which was in the path of the light rail and meth infested? This is their pattern of failure. And you know what? They deserve everything's coming to them right now. They absolutely do. Let me ask you this before I let you go, Randall. So are people yelling at the city council if they just lost this employer, or are people just going, well, I guess that sucks?
I don't know. I haven't been able to get the pulse of that yet, and I really don't know. But the way the city manager and the city council works here on these particular issues is it's totally secret.
So I'll tell you what, I'm going to reach out for comment and see how they're doing and see if they'll come on the show to discuss. Randall, appreciate the insight, appreciate the perspective, appreciate you being part of the show. Only good news to wrap up our show. Good news giveaway, good news headline, your chance to win a $50 gift card, plus so much more. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Only good news to wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And before we get to our good news giveaway, let's do some good news headlines and let's bookend the show today with the story we got right before we went on air from the Seattle Police Department. Blotter, an eagle-eyed Seattle parking enforcement officer, helped recover a stolen replica Liberty Bell believed to be worth more than $100,000. On Monday, that's today, at 8 a.m., parking enforcement officer Michael Eaton was on duty on the 1300 block of Northwest 83rd Street when he noticed a detached flatbed trailer with an enormous item covered with a rain tarp. Oh, it's a weather experiment. As he looks more closely, he saw a large bell and recalled a recent news report about a replica Liberty Bell stolen from the Evergreen Washelli Cemetery. Seattle police learned of the parking enforcement officer's discovery, worked with the cemetery staff to verify and recover the rare bell. A staff member explained it is heavy, made of copper, and there are only 20 of these bells in the world. The replica Liberty Bell was first reported stolen from the cemetery on March 1st. Cemetery staff told the Seattle police officers they found doors of a facility opened with a door lock cut and the bell, estimated to be worth over $100,000, missing. Investigators are now working to identify suspects involved. Anyone with information, photos, or related video to this investigation is asked to call the SPD tip line at 206-233-5000. That's 206-233-5000. And I will say, this thing is massive, absolutely massive. So the question is how they stole it in the first place. But anyway, at least it's back where it belongs and can be used. So that's really, really good news. Before I forget, your chance to win fantabulous prizes. Today, we are giving away a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card. Daniel's Broiler has been a Seattle favorite since 1980. Features USDA prime steak and other specialties, including chicken and fresh seafood, as well as a selection of high-end spirits, wine, and cocktails. Daniel's Broiler is open now in Bellevue, downtown Seattle, Leschi and South Lake Union with dine-in, takeout, and delivery. Check out danielsbroiler.com to reserve a table, place your takeout, delivery order, and more. We're also giving away a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement by Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs, plus a bonus of the Little Red Book of Retirement. Learn how to design your retirement to support your quality of life. For 30-plus years, from Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs, a local company working to help you grow deep financial roots so that future financial storms don't blow your life savings away. Visit MadronaFinancial.com for more information. Discover how you can create a rooted wealth plan today. Last but certainly not least, we are giving away two tickets to Brad Paisley at the Angel of the Winds Arena on May 31st. Brad Paisley is coming to the Everett this May with Walker Hayes and May Estes. Get your tickets Friday at Ticketmaster.com. All you have to do in order to win these fantabulous prizes is be caller number 10 at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Caller number 10 will win a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card, a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement, and the Little Red Book of Retirement by Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs, plus 2 tickets to Brad Paisley at the Angel of the Winds Arena on May 31st. Get your tickets Friday at Ticketmaster.com. Phone lines are open now. Give Mike a call for your chance to win at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Also, just a reminder, if you want another chance to win fantabulous prizes today, go to KVI.com. Get your chance to win 4 tickets to the Seattle RV Show, my friends. That's right. Head on over to the contest page at KVI.com for your tickets to win 4 tickets to the Seattle RV Show. Don't forget to stop by the booth this weekend, March 6th through 9th, and say hi to all of us from KVI who are going to be at that event. Well, my friends, that's going to about wrap it up for us today, but fear not, we will be back tomorrow with more insane stories, more exciting guests, and of course, more giveaways. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.